Hey, Miss Milton. Miss Milton,
Yes, Deputy.
is that Stevenson?
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
I'm going to hear it later. Okay, good afternoon. My name is Judge Lal, and this is going to be the state expedited accusation calendar. This is with the State Court of Fulton County. This is a list of cases in which individuals were recently arrested and charged with misdemeanor offenses in Fulton County, Georgia. Upon being booked at the Fulton County Jail, the cases were readily accused or formally accused by the Solicitor General's Office of Fulton County. Hence, the case will have its initial appearance with a state court judicial officer. If you are a defendant charged and accused of one or more offenses, please remember that you have a right to remain silent. Anything you say in open court, the statements can and will be used against you. You have a right to an attorney. If you cannot afford one, you could be appointed with one of the attorneys from the Public Defender's Office or the Conflict Defense List if you financially qualify for their services. Good afternoon. Who do we have? Deputy Francois in courtroom 2.
Good afternoon. We have position number 1, Mr. Asmo.
All right, Mr. Asmanov is accused of criminal trespass, reckless conduct and disorderly conduct in accusation number 23 CR 0009168. Mr. Aslanov, you've been advised of your right to remain silent, and your counsel is going to be Ms. Wanda Gant. Mr. Howard, any priors for Mr. Aslanov?
This is fourth arrest. Hold on. Can you hear me?
Yes, loud and clear.
Okay, fourth arrest. Last was 2018, suspended registration. 2015, terroristic threats and battery. You got first offender for that. 2016, suspended registration, dismissed. That's it.
Okay. The disorderly conduct was a charge recently added to the accusation by the Solicitor General's Office. He presently has a $2,500 bond on the original 2 charges. Ms. Falk, what's the state's recommendation? Is it Ms. Falk or is it somebody else?
It is. I was
Okay.
muted. I actually started talking. Just
That's okay.
with me. As your honor knows, this happened yesterday at 12 o'clock in the morning. The defendant went onto the premises of Miss Christina Pingarin. That's Christina. Last name is Pingarron. That's over at 1015 Crab Apple Park Drive in Roswell. Apparently, she was denied entry. The defendant was denied entry by Miss Pingarin, and then he climbed up onto her roof and attempted to enter her home through the roof. And when she called the police and the police arrived, he tried to maneuver across the roof to prevent the officers from seeing him. However, he was captured and then arrested. This defendant also had a 2015 terroristic threats and battery case that he was afforded first offender and did successfully complete first offender. However, I point that out to say that there is some history here that it does involve violence. The state is concerned based on the facts of this case, the defendant trying to enter the residence of Ms. Pingarin through such extreme measures. And we are asking for a $3,000 surety bond. That's going to be $1,000 as to each count. And we are further requesting a stay away from that address, as well as no further contact with Ms. Pingarin and no alcohol, drugs, or weapons. We did attempt to reach out to Ms. Pingarin, but we didn't have a number listed in the warrant, nor could we locate her via Clear.
All right. Is there Miss Christina Pingarin on the Zoom? All right, no. Miss Gant?
Yeah, thank you, Honor. Mr. Musa I practice this, Aslanov is 30 years old. He's born, he's been in Atlanta for 7 years. He does not have any children. He does have a brother here. However, his brother is unable to assist with bond. My client completed 12th grade, and at this time he is unemployed. He strongly denies the allegations. He states that the complaining witness actually invited him over. I'm requesting a signature bond for Mr. Aslanova. He does not have any convictions for violence, and his recent arrests are remote. We are unopposed to the stay away and the no contact orders. Thank you.
Okay, let me just look at one thing. So there was an invitation to this location, according to the defense. Did the warrant say the police found him on the roof?
The warrant did say, and let me just bring it up. It says, said accused then climbed to the roof of the residence, placing Pingarin in reasonable fear that said accused was attempting to gain entry into the residence. Said accused attempted to maneuver across the roof to keep officers from seeing him.
Okay. On the criminal trespass, that's going to remain $1,000. On the reckless conduct is going to be $1,000, and that's going to be a $2,000 surety bond. On the disorderly conduct, that's going to be a $2,000 signature bond through the jail. No further contact with Miss Christina Pingarron, Pingarron, which means you have to stay 200 yards away from her. You cannot communicate with her in person, through a third party, through a phone, a computer, or even on social media. You are also required to stay 200 yards away from 1015 Crab Apple Park Drive in Roswell, Georgia. No illegal drugs, no weapons, no firearms, and no alcohol. Your next court date is going to be on March 2nd, 2023. I have a address in Swanee. Is that McGinnis Ferry? Is that the correct address for Mr. Aslanov?
Yes, it is, Your Honor.
All right. So, Mr. Aslanov, if you do make bond, your next court date will be sent to you at your Swanee address, and you will be required to appear. But in the meantime, if you violate the stay away provision, you could be arrested again for criminal trespass. If you violate the no further contact, you could be arrested and charged with a felony aggravated stalking charge, which could result in no bond for up to 3 months. Do you understand, sir?
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you. Next case, please.
Position 2, Barnes.
This is Daryl Burns, 23 CR 0000919H. Mr. Burns has been accused of simple assault, domestic violence, as well as 2 separate counts of simple battery from February 15th, 2023. Mr. Burns, you've been advised of your right to remain silent, and your attorney is going to be Ms. Wanda Gant. Mr. Howard, any priors, please?
This is a 5th arrest. Previous 4 come out of Tennessee. Last was 2016 suspended license. Another 2016 suspended license, 2014 simple possession and probation violation. And before that was a burglary from 03 and theft of property over $500.
Okay. And Ms. Falk, the cruelty in the 3rd degree has been NOD'd, right? But-
Well, actually, the cruelty in the 3rd degree was changed to simple battery.
Oh, okay,
So none of the charges were NOD'd. We just changed one of the charges.
okay. And what's the state's recommendation for these 3 charges?
So, Your Honor, I do want to start out by saying we obtained the police report in this case, and the facts in the police report are far more detailed and kind of give better context to what happened here. This happened at about 5:30 yesterday afternoon. Officers first talked to G.I., who is the 13-year-old child of the victim and also a victim himself of Charlotte Fontillis. That is Charlettete. And then Fontillis is Fointilus. Miss G.I. told police that his mother had gone to Northwest Youth Power Academy to pick up her small child who she shares with the defendant. Officers then went to that location, saw the defendant and Miss Fontillis there. Miss Fontillis stated that the defendant was the ex-boyfriend and the father of her child, ZB, who was the child she was picking up from that location. She told police that she had left home to get her son from the bus stop earlier that evening, and she saw the defendant at the bus stop. When her son got off the bus and began walking home, the defendant then began following her. She went into the residence, put her child inside the residence and locked the door. And then when she turned toward the defendant had his hand on his waistband on his gun, pulled out the gun and then racked it. She stated at that point she felt threatened. She then noticed her son G.I. walking toward the residence. So she went and got G.I. and then started to walk away. Defendant began following them and then grabbed G.I.'s arm in an attempt to get Miss Fontillis's attention, but she continued to walk. She stated as she walked, she noticed the defendant wasn't there anymore. So she circled back to go to her residence with G.I. When they got inside the residence, the defendant was in her residence. She then stated she began gathering up her items so that she could get her youngest, ZB, from that daycare that I just mentioned. And he left by the time she exited the residence with her kids. She then began walking and noticed the defendant walking toward her and her child that she'd gotten off the bus earlier, DI, who is also 13 years of age. The defendant began getting in the way of them, grabbed DI to try to get her attention and to try to get her to talk to him, and then again grabbed his handgun a second time, racked it, now in the presence of DI, and began walking alongside them again. She stated she told him to leave her alone. He kept refusing. She finally made her way to Northwest Youth Power Academy, where she picked up ZB and the defendant then took the stroller and proceeded to push ZB in the stroller until the police arrived and she reported what happened. Smith & Wesson handgun was retrieved from the defendant's waistline. We did have an opportunity to talk to Miss Fontillis. She stated that they are not in a relationship. They don't live together. They do share ZB, the one child. She said this isn't the first time this has happened or the first time he's even used a gun against her. She said he's put a gun to her head in the past and that she was unable to call the police during those times because he would prevent her from doing so. She stated the defendant shows up to her house unannounced, that she is in fear of the defendant, especially when he has his gun. And she stated he was threatening to kill her and himself in front of her children. She says she does not want any contact with him and she wants him to stay away from the residence. I believe she is here. She stated she will be on Zoom, so I would like to sound for her. But Your Honor, to say this is a concerning situation is an understatement. This is a very dangerous situation for Ms. Fontillis and for her children, being that this happened in the presence of her children. And we are asking for a $25,000 surety bond. That's $15,000 on the assault, $5,000 for each of the simple battery, family violence. We're asking for no further contact with Charlotte Fontillis. Stay away from Constitution Hills apartment. That's 1177 Constitution Road, apartment S3 in Atlanta. We're asking for no alcohol, drugs, or weapons, and he must surrender all guns to the Fulton County Sheriff's Office.
Okay, did you say 1177 Constitution Road? That's yes, stay away from that location?
Yes, that's the address I have, the Constitution apartment, but let me check with our victim advocate just to make sure that is the correct address.
I have a Joseph E. Lowry.
I have Joseph
Oh,
Boone.
and my apologies, that is his apartment, so he would need to stay away from her address,
Joseph E.
at least 200
have
yards
both.
away.
What do you have, Joseph?
And let me get and it's the Joseph Lowry address. My apologies.
Let me check this.
Okay, Ms. Gant?
Thank you, Your Honor. Mr. Darrell Burns is 31 years old. He has been in the Atlanta, Georgia area for 2 years. He has a 3-year-old that he shares with the complaining witness, Miss Charlotte Fontillis. Mr. Burns graduated high school. He is also currently enrolled at Southern New Hampshire University, where he studies psychology. He is disabled, Your Honor. However, he has not been yet approved. Therefore, he has very limited means and no resources to pay bond. He strongly denies the allegations, Your Honor. I am requesting a signature bond on Mr. Burns' behalf. And if Your Honor determines that he's ineligible, then we would ask for a more reasonable bond, Your Honor, the lowest bond possible. We are also requesting third-party transfer so that he may see his child that they share. And again, as the court notes, the 1177 Constitution Avenue is his residence. We are unopposed to any no contact and stay away orders from the complaining witness and minors GI and DI. And again, he strongly denies the allegations.
All right, thank you.
And Your Honor, the state would object to a third-party contact, and we do ask to sound for the victim, Ms. Fontillis.
Miss Charlotte Fontillis, if you are present, if you'd like to testify or contribute, this will be your moment. Otherwise, you're free to remain silent. What would you like to do?
I can speak.
You don't want to speak, or you do want to speak?
I do want to speak.
All right. Unfortunately, the lighting in your room is quite dim. I can't see. Okay, and you have to lower your phone so that we can identify you on the screen. Okay, perfect. And if you please raise your right hand. You solemnly swear the testimony you provide will be the truth to the best of your knowledge.
I do.
All right. So I don't have a problem with issuing the no contact and to stay away. The question is the contact with the child that you share with Mr. Burns, ZV.
Keep your mask up.
All right. Has Mr. Burns legitimated the child? Have they gone to Superior Court and declared the child to be his?
Yes, the Charlie is here.
Okay, but has he gone to Superior Court and gotten a court order?
No,
Okay. And what else would you like to tell me?
I don't want him not to be able to see this child, but I do want him to stay away from me and my other children.
Okay, and that would be your location at Joseph E. Lowry?
Boulevard, Northwest Atlanta, Georgia. Yes, ma'am.
Okay, and also from that school that was mentioned, what was the name of that school?
Northwest Youth Power.
Northwest Youth Power. Is that
Yeah.
correct?
Yes, ma'am.
Northwest Youth Power Academy, was there the word academy in it?
Yes.
Yes.
Thank
Anything else?
I wanted to know if he gonna have his gun back because I don't feel safe if he do.
No, he's going to be required to surrender it.
Okay.
I'm not sure what that sound is, but if you have nothing else to add, I'm going to move on.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you. On the simple assault domestic violence, that's going to be a $7,000 surety. On each count of the simple battery, that's going to be $1,500. His total bond is 10,000. It is a surety bond. And next court date is going to be March 2nd, 2023. No further contact with Charlotte Pontilius and with the 3 minor children who are under the care of their mother, Charlotte Pontilius. Mr. Burns, if you plan to have contact with the child that you share with Ms. Pontilius, ZB, you would need to go to the appropriate superior court and file the correct legitimation action to get a court order to establish paternity, visitation, and joint custody over the child ZB. In the meantime, also, you are to stay away from 276 Joseph E. Lowry Boulevard in Atlanta, Georgia. You're not to be seen within 200 yards of that location. You're also to stay 200 yards away from Northwest Youth Power Academy, the school where the children attend. If you own any additional firearms or the firearm in question, you are to surrender all firearms to the law enforcement. It can be local City of Atlanta Police or the Fulton County Sheriff Department. They have to be surrendered. You're not permitted to own any firearms. You are not permitted to consume any illegal drugs and no alcohol. Your next court date is going to be March 2nd, 2023. If you do make bond, then we will send you notice for your next court date to your address with the Constitution Road or Constitution Boulevard in it. Any questions about your bond? All right, then we'll move on. Thank you.
How much
Keep
is,
your mask up for me.
oh,
Mr. Burns, I'm happy to call you to discuss your bond, sir.
okay.
Thank you. Okay, next one I think is Mr. Busey or Mr. Rodney Busey, is that correct?
No, we're gonna do, they wanna hold off on Mr. Bussey.
Okay. Is that Mr. McClendon then?
No, we're gonna move on to position 9, Mr. Terry, who's taking a plea.
I'm sorry, Ahmad Theriot?
Terry, position 9. Have a
Alright.
seat in the green chair.
This is State versus Ahmad Theriot, 23 CR 0000923B, accused of criminal trespass from February 15th, 2023. Mr. Theriot, you've been advised of your right to remain silent, and you do have a right to an attorney. Mr. Theriot,
That's
who is your attorney?
What you say, ma'am?
Who is your attorney? Ms. Gant is
Rogers.
Ms. Wanda Gant or anyone from the Public Defender's Office. Have you all interviewed him?
Ms. Cook, PD Cook.
All right, thank you. Ms. Cook, good afternoon. Are you representing Mr. Ahmad? Or Mr. Theriot?
Your Honor, I believe
He's taking a plea, Judge.
They told me I didn't have much time. I was taking a plea.
yes, ma'am, Your Honor. It's my understanding he's going to proceed pro se.
All right, let me just confirm. Ms. Cook, I'm having audio issues with your Zoom. If you can just either nod your head and let me know whether you are representing Mr. Theriot. Okay, thank you. Okay, Mr. Theriot, as I was saying, you do have a right to remain silent about the facts of the case. Anything you say, your statements can and will be used against you. Ms. Cook, if you could mute your screen, please. Thank you. And you have a right to an attorney. If you cannot afford one, the Public Defender's Office could be appointed to represent you at this first appearance. In addition to that, you also have a right to hire your own attorney, or you can choose to waive your right to counsel and represent yourself. If you choose to represent yourself, you're responsible for any legal decision that you make based upon your knowledge and research of the law and how it impacts your situation. How would you like to proceed in terms of an attorney?
They told me that, if I would have to make a plea, would I like to make a plea mean, pro se, she told me that they would let me out on a bond, signature bond. I didn't really do anything. Can I speak on it, on what happened? They gave me a signature bond, huh? They gave me time served, I'm sorry, sir, man. So I have to be speaking for myself.
All right. That really didn't answer my question. Do you want a public defense attorney to represent you?
No, ma'am.
Do you want to get a private attorney to represent you at your expense?
No, ma'am.
And do you want to then in that case, are you waiving your right to counsel to represent yourself?
Yes, ma'am.
And do you understand that by representing yourself, you're responsible for your legal decisions and how it will affect your situation, any other open cases, or any jobs that you may have?
Yes, ma'am.
Are you still willing to proceed representing yourself?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. You were accused of criminal trespass according to the warrant on December 15th, 2023. And the warrant alleges that the accused did knowingly and intentionally enter MARTA train number 401 after being issued a 365-day MARTA suspension. So you have a 1-year suspension and allegedly you trespassed by entering a MARTA vehicle. So I'm going to, if you want to enter into a plea, I need to place you under oath. Raise your right hand. Do you solemnly swear and affirm the testimony you provide will be the truth to the best of your knowledge?
Yes, ma'am. I do.
Okay. Mr. Rogers, have you submitted the plea paperwork to Mr. Theriot for review?
Yes, I have, Your Honor.
All right. And Mr. Theriot, where's the paperwork that was sent to you for review
I
and
have it right
signature?
here. I have it right here.
And have you signed and checked off the correct boxes?
Yes, ma'am.
Have you signed the document that says waiver of counsel?
Yes, ma'am.
All right, you would need to give that to the deputy so they can send it back to us.
Yes, ma'am.
All right, I'm going to proceed with this plea hearing. I do not have the plea paperwork. I have no idea what you put down on that paperwork. Every friend, are you able to send it to our litigation manager, Ms.
The paperwork has already been sent
to Holly Bridgewater?
to Mr. Rogers.
Yes, I forwarded it to Ms. Bridgewater.
Okay, just give me a moment to get it printed up. And while we're waiting, Mr. Rogers, what is the plea offer, please?
The plea offer is 12 months, sentence to 12 months, credit for time served 1 day with the balance suspended with a stay away order from MARTA.
He said it doesn't say that, it just say time served. Oh, I'm sorry.
Mr. Theriot,
That's-
number one, don't interrupt until I give you leave to speak. And number two, what the prosecuting attorney said was absolutely correct. All right, and I'll explain to you why your interruption was unwarranted.
Yes, ma'am.
Anything else, Mr. Rogers?
No, Your Honor, that's all.
Okay. And is balance suspended, right? And stay away?
Yes, Your Honor.
Thank you. Mr. Theriot, what the state is saying is that their recommended sentence will be 12 months to serve 1 day and credit for time served 1 day. That means your jail time is concluded. And then upon release, any remainder time is suspended. That is a long way of saying time served. Do you understand?
Yes, ma'am.
And it will also require you to stay away from all MARTA property, buses, trains, stations, the bus shelter. You cannot use the park, you cannot enter the parking lot as well as the bathrooms, and definitely not onto any train or any MARTA bus for 1 year.
Yes, ma'am.
I'm sorry, I didn't understand your response.
I said, yes, ma'am, okay.
And you do understand that if you re-enter property, there'll be a new charge, and that next time there won't be a plea offer.
Yes, ma'am.
All right. Let me get your paperwork. Can you just email me the documents and I'll
Sure.
take it from there?
Shut down.
Mr. Rogers, could you forward the documents to my email as well? You should find me on the county email.
Yes, yes, Your Honor.
I apologize for this.
No, no, that's okay. We're just having a few
Down.
technical issues here.
You should be receiving it momentarily.
All right. Thank you. Yeah.
You received yours?
Yeah, I got it.
I don't know.
Thank
what's
you.
going on here.
No, that's all right. Okay, so I have the plea paperwork from Mr. Theriot. So let me see. This will be pleading guilty to 1 count of criminal trespass. And he signed the waiver of counsel. Okay. Mr. Theriot, if I've already placed you under oath, may I ask you if you've consumed any medication or alcohol recently?
No, ma'am.
And have you understood the proceedings as they've been going on so far?
Yes, ma'am.
If you decide to enter a guilty plea, you would not only have to give up your constitutional right to try these charges in a court of law, but you also have to agree that the factual basis of this arrest, the allegations set forth by the prosecutor, that the location of the offense, Fulton County, Georgia, and that the identity of the perpetrator, that is you, are all true and correct. Do you so agree?
Yes, ma'am.
If you decide to enter this guilty plea, you would have to give up your constitutional right to go back to court, to challenge this charge in a court of law, to be able to have the help of an attorney, to challenge the state's evidence, confront your accuser, examine witnesses, and have the state try to prove the charge against you beyond a reasonable doubt. Are you prepared to give up these rights?
Yes, ma'am.
Is anyone forcing you or inducing you to take this plea today?
Oh, ma'am.
How do you plead to 1 count of criminal trespass?
Yes.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear your response. How do you plead to 1 count of criminal
Yes.
trespass?
Yes, yes.
Your sentence is 12 months to serve 1 day, credit for time served 1 day, balance suspended. You are to stay away from all motor property as I've already described, and that stay away will be in accordance with the active suspension, which is currently 1 year. If you return to any motor property or motor vehicles, you will be arrested and recharged with the same offense. Thank you.
Position 5, Palmer. Have a seat in the blue chair.
We'll take it one at a time.
Yes, whatever that may be.
Repeat the position number again, please.
Position 5, Palmer.
Just need the rest. Antoine Palmer is accused of battery, domestic violence, and accusation number 23 CR 0000922C. This is from a May 19th, 2022 incident. Mr. Palmer, you've been advised of your right to remain silent, and your attorney is going to be Miss Wanda. Is it Miss Cook or Miss Gant? Oh, Miss Cook, we have no audio from you. You might want to check your computer where it says mute. Where it says mute on your Zoom screen. you might want to click that little arrow that goes up and make sure that you're connected to the microphone and to the speakers of your device.
Yeah, can you hear me now?
Yes, I do and hear you. Excellent, thank you. All right, so Ms. Cook is going to be your attorney. Mr. Howard, what is Mr. Palmer's priors, if any?
7 adult arrests. Last arrest was back in July, failed to appear out of Cobb. Got an open battery in state court, 22 CR 004 314C. On probation in Superior Court, participation in criminal street gang activity, 19 SC 172137. Also on probation for theft by taking, 20 SC 177101.
All right, thank you. Mr. Rogers, what's the state's recommendation for Mr. Palmer?
Yes, Your Honor, this incident occurred on May the 19th of 2022. Officers responded to 75, Interstate 75, 85 northbound in reference to a fight in progress. Upon arrival, they spoke with Kiaria Smith, first name Keyeira, last name Smith, common spelling. She reported to police that her son's father, Mr. Alton Palmer, had picked up from work at the Hartsfield-Jackson International Airport. When they left work, she noticed that their child that they share was not in the car. They got into a verbal dispute regarding who was caring for the child. It was someone that she did not know. Mr. Palmer, the defendant, he got upset and turned the music up. Ms. Smith then turned the music down, and that's when the defendant hit her several times in the face and punched her in the mouth, leaving her lips swollen and purple. He then pulled to the side of the interstate, pulled her by her hair, pulled her out of the car, and he left her on the side of the road. And that's when she contacted police officers. They arrived and they did notice the visible injuries to her face and her lip. This is right after this incident. 2 months after this incident, the defendant was arrested for battery upon the same Miss Smith in July. So it is concerning. Since that time, Ms. Smith has reported that they are no longer together and they just co-parent the 3-year-old child. She has said that she will be on Zoom today, so at the appropriate time, we will request that you sound for her, Your Honor. The state's recommendation is a $5,000 surety bond, a stay-away order, no further contact with the victim, and no alcohol, drugs, or weapons while out on bond. Nothing further from the state.
All right. Just 1 second. All right, Ms. Cook, before I address you, may I address Ms. Smith?
Yes, Your Honor, that's fine.
All right, thank you. Ms. Smith, my name is Judge Lal, and if you would like to address the court, I need to place you under oath. Would that be a problem?
No, ma'am.
Do you solemnly raise your right hand? Do you solemnly swear and affirm the testimony you provide will be the truth to the best of your knowledge?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Are y'all presently reunited, or have you been living separately?
We've been living separately.
Okay. And so this incident that I'm addressing right now occurred in May of 2022. Was there a July 9th, 2022 incident as well?
Yes, ma'am.
All right. And what would you like to tell me?
Well, everything is true, but ever since like both of us have been released for jail, we have been like keeping our distance and just been co-parenting. And that's been working pretty fine for us. I don't feel like us, like, I just feel like when we're in a relationship, that's when the fights break out. But as far as us co-parenting and not living together, everything has just been going fine.
Everything's going on fine since you guys have been co-parenting?
Yes.
Okay. And how do you co-parent? How does that work? Who drops the child off? Who picks up?
Well, he's the one with the vehicle, so he's the one who will drop off and pick up. But it's like on Sunday, like for the week. Soon Sunday come, I'll get my kid for the rest of that week. And then when Sunday come back around, he'll get the kid for the rest of that week.
And from whom does he get the kid?
He get the kids from me.
From you?
Mm-hmm. Or either sometime my mom.
If the host could give me screen sharing right, please.
Mel, you talking to me?
No, I'm talking to my no, I'm talking to the the court administrator, please. April, or if I have screen share rights, please. Okay. I don't know whether I've got this right. I think I. Can everyone see this document?
I see Kroger.
I don't know how I got that one. How did I get this? Okay, let me see if I can do this again. Can y'all see this document?
Yes.
Ms. Smith, do you see this document? Ms. Smith, you're on mute?
Oh, yes, ma'am, I see it.
All right. And Mr. Palmer, I hope you can see this as well. This is the case from July 9th, 2022, when Mr. Palmer was before Judge Morrow. And this was a incident, I guess, involving you as well. And he was given $1,000 good bond. He was required to have no contact with Kyria Smith. Do you see that?
Yes, ma'am.
And the next thing it says, stay away from 2825 Waters Road. And it doesn't say anything about third-party transfer of child. Do you know what this part means? No further contact?
Well, basically, we don't supposed to be having like any type of contact.
He's supposed to, no, not you, not you.
Oh,
He's supposed to stay 200 yards away from you and not have any contact with you. And if he wanted to see the child with whom he shares with you, he would either have to go to court to change the no contact order or get a Superior Court legitimation order. So right now I'm looking at that order and he's already violated it based on what you're telling me. So I'd recommend that we don't say anything else, okay?
yes, ma'am.
All right. Ms. Cook, what do you recommend?
Your Honor, I'm sorry. Can you hear me?
Yes, loud and clear.
Okay, yes. All right, Your Honor, Mr. Palmer, he is 20 years old. He's lived in Georgia all of his life. The incident that is before Your Honor occurred, like ASG said, May of 2022. The subsequent incident that you're referencing did occur subsequent to that July 9th, where Ms. Smith was also arrested and I believe has same bond conditions.
Yes, Ms. Cook, I was aware of that. I just didn't want to put the alleged victim in a spot.
Well, Your
But
Honor,
I do understand she's a cross-dependent in the prior case.
yes, Your Honor. I just want to be abundantly clear about that. Our position, Your Honor, is that since then, they've had an adequate cooling off period. They, for the benefit of their child, apparently they've been successful in terms of both being able to be involved in the child's life. We would be asking the court, Mr. Palmer, his highest level of education is 11th grade. It's hard for him in terms, like, he doesn't want to start over. He does have a good job currently at the airport where he gets paid weekly. My understanding is that his job is currently still available should he be released soon. He lives with his mother, which is not where Ms. Smith resides. let's see, in terms of an amount that he's able to pay, Your Honor, although he is employed, it is still, he still qualifies for our services. So we would be asking the court for a reasonable bond, no more than $500. We have no problem with no drugs, alcohol, or weapon. We would be asking though for no further violent contact with the victim to allow for the transfer of the child.
All right. And, all right, Mr. Rogers, I'm sure the Victim Advocate Division can reach out to Ms. Smith and counsel her for this case, but she's also got a no further contact with regards to Mr. Palmer. In other words, right now, there are court orders that require Ms. Smith and Mr. Palmer to not have any kind of communication with each other by law.
Understood, Your Honor.
And if the prosecution wants to move forward, they can have the signature bonds, especially for Ms. Smith, revoked if she has violated the no contact order. Do you understand, Ms. Smith?
Yes, ma'am, I understand.
Okay. At the present time on the battery domestic violence, the bond is going to be set at $2,500. That's going to be a surety bond. Mr. Palmer, in case you didn't get the message from the last few cases, I cannot be any clearer. This is the only language I can speak clearly. You are to have no contact with Ms. Smith. You have to stay 200 yards away from her. Stay 200 yards away from her. That's the length of 2 football fields. Did you watch the Super Bowl recently?
Yes, ma'am.
It's 1 football field times 2. That's how far you have to stay away.
Yes,
You
ma'am.
cannot communicate with her through a third person, not in person, not through a phone, not through a computer, not in social media.
Yes, ma'am.
You and she have a pretty toxic relationship from last year, so you guys have both got criminal cases for both of you. And right now, the court is saying both of you cannot have any contact with each other. You both need to go about your business totally separate. You're
Yes.
not to have any, you're not to consume any alcohol, no illegal drugs, and you're not to possess any weapons or any firearms. If you seek to have custody or joint visitation with the child that you share, you need to go to the appropriate superior court and file a legitimation action. There is no third-party transfer of the child and no transfer of the children between the two of you, unless you get a superior court order. That's as clear as I can get. Do you have any questions?
No, ma'am.
All right. Your next court date is going to be March 2nd, 2023. We're going to address this case, the new case ending in 922C, as well as the other case that you have, 22 CR 004314C. I don't know if Mr. Palmer will still be at the jail by the time March 2nd rolls around. I do see he has a couple of probation holds. So we're going to leave it at that. Thank you.
Thank you.
Position 7, Sampson. Ms. Gant, you can call now.
This thing has a line of its own.
I know. Jeffrey Sampson is accusation number 23 CR 000924H. Mr. Sampson's been accused of following too closely: DUI, driving under the influence of multiple substances, and driving whilst license suspended or revoked. Okay. Mr. Sampson, you've been advised of your right to remain silent, and your attorney is going to be Ms. Tamisha Cook. Any priors, Mr. Howard?
45 total.
Any
Last-
prior DUIs?
He was arrested last year on the FTA for a DUI.
Which,
It was out of Smyrna.
okay,
He had a, yeah, it was from a 2021 arrest. It just says transferred to state court.
okay.
I see a 2018 DUI arrest. He got driving without valid license and suspended license conviction as well.
From which years?
Hold on. Suspended license, that was the last arrest back in August. That was out, he went to the city jail for that.
All right.
2021 suspended license out of Marietta. That was a conviction. A driving without valid license came in 2018. Got a 2017 suspended license. Another 2017 suspended license, but that one was dismissed. 2016 suspended license. 2016 driving without a valid license conviction. 2014 driving without a valid license arrest.
All right. Anything else?
I mean, he got more driving without a valid license.
That's fine.
And
Thank
hold
you.
on, hold on, I got one more.
Okay.
And a 2011 DUI conviction.
2011?
Correct.
All right. Thank you. Mr. Rogers or, yeah. Or Mr.
Yeah.
Fortune, who's chiming in?
I am, Your Honor.
Yes, sir.
On February the 15th, officers were traveling westbound on Donald Lee Howell Parkway, at the intersection of Chapel Road. They observed a black Chevy K15 and a silver Chevy Tahoe stopped on the roadway, and they appeared to be involved in an automobile accident. Officers activated their lights and pulled behind the black Chevy K15. They approached the vehicle and they came in contact with Jeffrey Sampson, the defendant. They observed him. He looked to be confused. He had bloodshot eyes. He was crying at times. He went between being calm and then being loud. On several occasions, the officers had to remind the defendant to not stand too close to oncoming traffic and guide him out of the roadway. For this reason, they suspected that he was under the influence of drugs and alcohol. He did rear end that Chevy Tahoe, and he was found to have a suspended license.
Anything else?
No, Your Honor. The state requests a $4,000 surety bond, $3,000 for the DUI, and $500 for the following too closely and for the driving while license suspended. That's nothing further from the state.
All right. Thank you. Ms. Cook?
Yes, Your Honor, thank you. Mr. Sampson is 63 years old. He currently resides with his wife. They've been at the current address for 7 years. They've lived in Georgia for a total of 32 years. He's a high school graduate with 1 year of college experience. He's also a disabled vet. Your Honor, as it relates to the allegations against him, we do want to make it clear that he's presumed innocent unless and until the state can meet their burden beyond a reasonable doubt. All of his prior, although he does have 45 cycles on his criminal history, they're all traffic related through the span of his lifetime. We would be asking the court for a reasonable bond. He is on a fixed income, Your Honor, as he gets money from the VA each month. We will be asking the court for a bond of no more. I think he said he's able to pay a $500 bond, nothing more. Thank you.
On the driving under the influence, that's going to be a $3,000 surety bond. On driving while license suspended or revoked, that's going to be a $3,000 surety bond. On the following too closely, that's going to be a $3,000 signature bond through pretrial services. Guess that's a total of $9,000. It is a split bond. Part of the conditions of the bond is no driving. Absolutely no driving. No alcohol, no illegal drugs. You report to pretrial once a month. You'll be subject to random screens for illegal drugs and alcohol.
It's per judge.
Yeah. Next court date is March 23rd. March 2nd, excuse me, March 2nd, 2023. Thank you.
Judge Love, the DUI was 3,000 good bond.
3,000 surety, driving while license suspended, 3,000 surety, following too closely, 3,000 signature bonds with pre-trial, random screens, no driving.
Thank you. Position 10, Mr. White.
Tony O'Neill White, 23 CR 0000917F is accused of simple battery from February 15, 2023. Mr. White, you've been advised of your right to remain silent, and your attorney is going to be Ms. Cook. All right, that's correct. Any price, Mr. Howard?
41 total. We got 23 out of Alabama.
From where, I'm sorry?
Alabama.
Alabama, okay.
Last arrest was 2021 for a fray, play at Nolo. That was in state court. Another 2021 arrest for a parole violation, 2020 parole violation, 2020 trespass conviction, and 2 more parole violations out of 2020. 07 probation for simple battery. Last arrest in Alabama. Let's see, 2019 escape, 2019 failed to appear, 2019 probation and criminal trespass, 2019 another probation and criminal trespass, 2012 family offense, harassment in the 3rd degree. That was a conviction. 2012 trespass, 2012 another trespass, 2011 trespass, and there's a lot of trespass.
All right, thank you. Is it Mr. Fortune or Mr. Rogers?
It's mine, Your Honor.
Oh, Ms. Gold, okay,
Myself and Mr. Rogers are handling the cases on the calendar today.
okay.
So this happened yesterday at 5:38 PM. Trooper Goebel stated he saw the defendant strike LaShonda Davis 2 times on top of her head. This was also witnessed by another independent witness, Eric Johnson, who saw the same thing. The defendant was arrested, and Miss Davis, LaShonda Davis, LASHANDA, was also arrested when she tried to prevent the defendant from being arrested. We have not gone forward with that charge. I will state that the defendant does have a number of parole and probation violations, as Mr. Howard has stated, going back to 2020. So these were in the last 3 years. He's had 2 parole violations in Bibb, a parole violation in Athens Clark in a 2021, a second parole violation in Athens Clark in 2021, as well as that a Frey case in 2021 where he entered a NOLO, and that case involved a female as well. The defendant has a hold from Newton County currently as well. So we do have some concerns that, combined with his Alabama history and the number of probation violations on that history and FTAs, we do have a concern he is a flight risk, as well as just not generally likely to conform with the court's orders based on the number of parole and probation violations. The bond is currently set at $1,500. We are asking that to be increased to $3,000. We are also asking for no further contact with LaShonda Davis. We do not have an address for her at this time, and no alcohol, drugs, or weapons. But we would like to ask that he stay away from her residence, wherever that may be. We would also like to sound for Ms. Davis in case she is here.
Ms. LaShonda Davis, are you here on the Zoom? No? All right, Ms. Cook?
Thank you, Your Honor. Mr. White is 48 years old. He's lived in Georgia most of his life. He has been residentially challenged for a while now. The highest level of education he's completed is 9th grade, Your Honor. He does know the victim, or I'm sorry, the complaining witness, and has no issues with staying away from her or the no drugs, alcohols, or weapons condition. Your Honor, any amount that you put on him as he's unemployed would be a hardship on him. So therefore, we're asking for a signature bond on this case.
Bond set at $1,500 is a surety bond, no further contact with LaShonda Davis, which also means staying away wherever she happens to be standing. And next court date's March 2nd. No alcohol, no illegal drugs, no weapons. Thank you.
Position 4, McClendon.
All right, can you help me? Can you help me? Can you help me?
State versus Van Clay McClendon, 23 CR 0000920C. McClendon is accused of criminal trespass from February 15th, 2023. Mr. Clendon, you have been advised of your right to remain silent, and your attorney is going to be Ms. Wanda Gant. Any priors, Mr. Howard?
13 total. Last arrest was 2021, aggravated assault. He's on probation for that. That's 21 SC 178868. Last year in February, they gave him 7 months confined and 9 years and 5 months probation. That's ag assault strangulation. 2017 possession of cocaine conviction. Before that was 06 probation. And 06 theft of service conviction.
All right, that's good. Thank you. Ms. Falk or?
Mr. Rogers.
Yes, sorry.
On Wednesday, February the 15th of 2023, officers were dispatched to 3300 Lenox Road. That is a JW Marriott Atlanta hotel in reference to a criminal trespass. Upon arrival, they made contact with hotel security, who advised that Van McClendon, the defendant, he was inside the location and he refused to leave. Security stated to officers that earlier that day, the defendant came onto the property and they removed him from the property. Hours later, he returned back to the hotel and laid on the couch and refused to leave. He told security that the only way he would leave if he was if they took him to jail. That's the only way he was going to leave. For that reason, we're requesting a $3,000 signature bond, a stay away from that location, and no alcohol, drugs, or weapons while out on bond. There's nothing further.
Thank you. Ms. Gant?
Thank you, Your Honor. The defense is unopposed to the signature bond. We are also unopposed to the stay away. Mr. McClendon is 58 years old. He has been in the Atlanta, Georgia area for 20 years. He does not have any children. He does not have any family to assist with bond. He completed the 12th grade and he states that he has been disabled for 16 years. Your Honor, these are allegations. My client is presumed innocent. He denies the allegations. And again, we are unopposed to the signature bond and stay away. Thank you.
All right. So his original bond was $600 surety. And Mr. Rogers, you said you wanted to increase it?
It's a signature. We were requesting a signature bond amount.
Okay. He's residentially challenged, so I can't do him through pretrial. It would have to be through the jail.
That's fine, Your Honor.
All right. Mr. Bentley McClendon, the prosecutors are agreeing to give you a signature bond through the jail. Your next court date will be sent to you. I don't know, where do we send notice to for you?
Could you write that down? I don't have an address. I don't know where you send an address to court date to. Write the court date down.
Mr. McClendon, please remain silent. Judge Law, our social worker, Ms. Nakasha Mann Williams, is working with Mr. McClendon to be sure that our office stays in contact with him and also to get resources to assist with this living situation.
All right. It's a $3,000 signature bond through the jail. And Mr. McClendon, if you return to the hotel at 3300 Lenox Road and you do not leave immediately upon their demanding that you leave, you will be arrested and brought back to jail. And next time you may not get a signature bond.
Where do you suggest I live tonight?
I beg your pardon?
Where do I live tonight?
Well, sir, I'm sure if you don't have a home, you would have to resort to a shelter.
A shelter.
And the public defender.
I tried at the Masons.
Mr. McClendon, the social worker is there, Ms. Williams, she is there. She's willing to talk to you again. So please direct your questions to her regarding the resources, the housing resources.
But unfortunately, the hotels will not let you stay there without paying for it. All right, thank you.
My apologies, Judge Long.
My apologies on here.
Position 3, Bussy, come on, Bussy.
And Your Honor, I'm requesting a breakout for Mr. Bussy, position
Before
3.
we go into that, Have we addressed position 6, Francois, Shimon Pierce?
Position 6,
Yeah,
the waiver of appearance. They waived it.
appearance, okay.
Yes, Your Honor, we're requesting to have that medically reset.
I'm sorry, repeat, Ms. Cook?
If we could have that medically reset.
All right, so Shimon Pierce, we want it reset to tomorrow?
Yes, Your Honor.
Reset to February 17th at 2 p.m.
What's the reasoning?
She says it's a medical reset. Ms. Cook, was that the reason?
Correct, Your Honor.
All right, so this will not be a Riverside issue. All right, position 6 is reset to tomorrow, February 17th. And is Miss Sabra Stevenson, the young lady at ACDC?
Yes, Your Honor.
All right. I will be with the breakout in just a moment. Position 8 is Sabra Stevenson, accused of battery, domestic violence from February 15, 2023. Ms. Stevenson, you've been advised of your right to remain silent, and your attorney is going to be Ms. Maureen McLeod. Do you see Ms. McLeod on the screen?
Yes.
All right.
Yes.
Thank you. Mr. Howard, any priors on Ms. Stevenson?
6 total. Last arrest was back in March. Battery DV. I think it was the same victim. Non-pros. 2021 DUI. I got an aggravated assault that was amended to battery that was dismissed from 2013. Got aggravated battery, aggravated assault arrest from 2009. Those are non-pros. And a 2009 simple battery family violence. So yes, 5th arrest.
All right. Thank you. Ms. Folk?
Yes, Your Honor. So this happened, let me just see, back on February 15th at 12:42 a.m. at 201 Maury Avenue, Moury. Ronald Bird, that's ORNARD, Bird, BYRD, stated that he and the defendant spent the night together after she fell asleep. He woke her up to see if she was talking to another male. She then asked to see his phone and show her his deleted pictures, which included himself with a girl the defendant knew. She then swung and struck him in the right cheek, grabbed him and tore his shirt, and he then in turn pushed her away. Mr. Bird did have a ripped shirt and a visible bruise and a laceration to his face. The defendant, Mr. Bird, then said he pushed the defendant outside when she would not leave and called 911 twice. He showed officers his phone, which showed the 2 911 calls. The defendant stated that he struck her while she was sleeping and held her to the ground and took her phone. When questioned, the defendant's story changed multiple times. She also was texting the defendant on the scene, telling him to stop talking to law enforcement. She claimed that she had called the police while she was being attacked and he had taken the phone from her. But when they looked at the 911 calls, they actually saw that her 911 calls were subsequent to his. He called 911 twice and then she called 911 afterwards, which didn't match up with her version of events. So that's how she was identified as the predominant aggressor and taken into custody. She does have a history, Your Honor, as pretrial has already stated. She was actually had a case null prost, and that's 22 CR 001819Y, where she was given a $5,000 pretrial services bond. The reason this is important is because that case involved Mr. Bird as well, where she was the aggressor against Mr. Bird, and then the case was null prost subsequent to the case being accused. She also has the 2013 simple battery that was bumped down from an aggravated assault and then null prost, a 2009 aggravated assault, aggravated battery, which you guessed it, was null prost, and 2009 simple battery family violence. She also has a outstanding 2021 DUI, but our main concern is these number of batteries and simple batteries and family violence cases that have all just mysteriously gone away after they have been, prosecution has been initiated, and one including Mr. Bird. For those reasons, we are asking for a $7,500 surety bond. We're asking for no further contact with Ronald Bird. Stay away from the address at 201 Maury Avenue Southeast, and no alcohol, drugs, or weapons. We are also additionally asking for FBIP in this case, given the number of prior arrests for family violence and her most recent history with this defendant. Thank you.
Ms. McLeod?
Yes, Your Honor. My client is 37 years old. She is a native of Atlanta. She is a mother of 4 minor children, 18, 14, and 10, and she's the primary caregiver for these children. My client is a college graduate, Your Honor. She is gainfully employed as a supervisor with the Department of Family and Children's Services and has been there for some time, Your Honor. I would like to point out to the court that arrests are not convictions. My client has never been convicted of anything. That is because she's not ever been found guilty of any of these allegations. She tells me actually that Mr. Bird was the one who woke her up. He struck her, he was very jealous. You know, he went into her phone, saw that she was seeing someone else. They're no longer in a relationship and they do not share any children, Your Honor. Okay, he invited her out because it was Valentine's Day and she went. He took the opportunity to go through her phone, became upset. She wanted to leave, he would not allow her to leave. I did see the warrant myself and it said that, you know, there were 911 calls in both of the parties' phones and they were quite close together. What my client's testimony was that he took her phone from her, would not allow her to call. So the fact that the calls in her phone may have been a minute or two behind this does not mean she was not the one trying to call because he's bigger and stronger than her. And his own admission is that he pushed her outside. That's what he said. He pushed her outside because he wanted to make the police believe that he was trying to get rid of her when in fact she had been trying to leave before that. And he would not allow her to leave, Your Honor. As I said, my client has no criminal record at all, and I would ask the court to give her a signature bond so she can get out of jail and take care of her 3 minor children. Nothing further, Your Honor.
And Your Honor, can we also sound for Mr. Bird, please?
Mr. Ronald Bird? See someone called Bickerstaff, but I'm not sure.
She's with us, Your Honor. She's at one of our new ASGs.
All right. No, Mr. Bird. Bond is set at $7,500. That's going to be a signature bond for pretrial services. No contact with Ronald Bird. No illegal drugs, no alcohol, no weapons, and no firearms. And she's to stay away from the incident location. I honestly can't recall what it was.
201 Maui Avenue.
I believe that's his home, Your Honor. She doesn't have a problem with that because she does not live with him and they're not in a relationship.
That's good. 201 Maui Avenue.
Yes, Your Honor, Moury Avenue.
Oh, Maury. Okay, Maury Avenue in Atlanta, Georgia. Miss Bird, you do qualify for a signature bond, but it's a rather high one. And the reason being, because I am rather inquisitive about how you run a criminal arrest record with so many arrests for violent offenses. I'm not saying one way or another, but it is of a great concern. The $7,500 signature bond means that you have to report to pretrial once a month. You have to stay away from Mr. Ronald Bird. If you get arrested again for anything, and I mean anything, this $7,500 signature bond will be converted to a surety or a cash bond. So it's up to you to make sure that you maintain an arrest-free record from now on.
Understood.
While you are out on a signature bond, you will attend and complete a domestic violence intervention program, FVIP. You must begin that program within 60 days of being released. So if you're released today, by your 3rd visit to pretrial, you must show proof that you are enrolled and starting the 6-month domestic violence intervention classes.
When is that class? Because I work.
Oh, I'm so sorry. You're going to have to figure out time in your life to do that. You can look it up online to see where these classes are held. And they are weekly classes. And you'll have to pay for those classes out of your own pocket. And the reason why I am requiring this is because, like I said, you have an arrest record of an alarming number of violent offenses. Thank you. Your next court date is going to be sent to your current address, make sure that if you change your address or your contact information, that you let court know first in writing. Also, maintain contact with Ms. McLeod so that she can address your cases in the future. Thank you.
But this
Thank
is
you, Your Honor.
per the,
For a judge, but she doesn't have any open cases.
She has none, Your Honor.
Well,
what you mean?
I'll
She
write
got
that down for Mr. Howard. Okay.
Judge Law,
Hmm.
going back to position 6, they still waive their appearance, but I think there's a misunderstanding for Mr. Pierce. Kasha wants to put him on the competency calendar. So it's not actually not a medical reset.
Okay.
And Your Honor, my business is concluded before the court today. May I be excused?
Yes, thank you, Ms. McLeod.
You're welcome.
Okay.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Judge,
Before
you give
going
him,
back to the breakout, so Ms. Cook, can I ask again, what were you planning to do for position 6, Shimon Pierce? Ms. Tamisha Cook,
Yes, Your Honor.
what were you intending? Where were you planning to place this case?
Your Honor, none of my questions were answered in terms of him actually qualifying. So the social worker, I guess, interviewed him while she was at the jail. I had a conversation with Ms. Gant, who asked me to reset him to tomorrow. So that's why I did a medical reset. I believe he may need a competency evaluation.
Okay,
So we'll keep them on for tomorrow.
so do you want him to be reset tomorrow to determine whether you want to ask for an evaluation, or do you want to address the case today and ask for an evaluation?
Yeah, and I don't even know if he qualifies for our services because he refused to answer my questions, is what
All
I'm
right.
getting at.
Ms. Gant, do you have any thoughts on that?
Yes, Your Honor, we're requesting that he be reset so that we can handle the competency issue. We need to get a little bit more information about this matter.
Okay, Kasha is right there. Kasha, any thoughts on this case?
They probably won't get much because of his mindset right now. It's definitely a competency issue if we want to just go for it. But I don't know legally and from their office aspect what they need, what more information they need.
All right. Francois, I'm going to have to go with the attorney's decision and reset the case to February 17. And y'all can try interviewing him again tomorrow. Otherwise, you have to make a decision as to whether you want to request the case to be reset to competency and submit an evaluation order. We can do that today or we can do that tomorrow. Ms. Gant, Ms. Cook, any thoughts?
We're requesting that the case be reset, Your Honor.
All right, medical reset to 217. This is going to be a MH reset, okay? MH reset, not so much medical, but MH reset to 217 at 2 p.m. Final word. Okay. I think we've addressed all the cases in the jail. We're going to go to a breakout, but I'll just quickly go through the rest of the cases. Position 1 is a $4,000 split bond, further notice to March 2nd. Position 2 is a $10,000 surety, reset to March 2nd. Position 3 is going to be in a breakout. Position 4 is a 3,000 signature bond through the jail for the notice. Position 5 is a $2,500 surety for the notice to March 2nd. Position 6 is a MH reset to February 17 at defense request. Position 7 is a 9,000 split bond, reset to March 2nd. Position 8 is a 7,500 signature bond through pre-trial for the notice. Position 9 period was a plea. Position 10 white is a $1,500 surety bond, reset to March 2nd. Okay.
you gonna get the history in the breakout, right?
If you can give me Mr. Busey's priors, please.
12 total. 2014 misdemeanor possession of marijuana. Before that was 08 battery, dismissed. Failure to appear, possession of cocaine. 07, he was convicted for possession of cocaine. 0504 parole violations, and that's for drugs. That's it.
Thank you. All right, Mr. Howard, you're excused, unless you'd like to stick around, but, if the host could please place, Ms. Falk, me, Ms. Gant.
Your Honor, I would like to also request Ms. Bickerstaff and Rancheros Fortune be allowed to enter the breakout as well.
All right. Ms. Tamisha Cook, you should come in too.
Yes, Your Honor.
All right. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 folks. All right, with regards to Mr. Rodney Busey, after conferring with the attorneys, the defense will provide a specific order for Mr. Busey to the court, and his bond is presently set at 6,000 surety with no contact with Regina King, Antonio, and Rihanna Busey, and to stay away from the Baldwin Street address as well as the Darrah Street address. His next court date will be March 23rd, 2023 at 11 a.m.
That was the total amount, Judge?
Yes, 222 for each, two on each count.
All right, we're completed here, court two, Judge.
Thank you. That concludes the calendar.